Hi guys, so good evening, welcome back to my magical world. It's me, Frostbite, your favorite celebrity here in the Philippines. It's 19:49 in the evening right now, and today is Wednesday. Let me check. Today is Wednesday, October 16th of the year 2024. So let's continue. We're on to page 71 and 72 of the book Flow, Mastery. So if you desire an apprenticeship, if you want to learn and set yourself up for mastery, you have to do it yourself and with great energy. When you enter this phase, you generally begin at the lowest position. Your access to knowledge and people is limited by your status. If you are not careful, you will accept this status and become defined by it. Particularly if you come from a disadvantaged background. Instead, like Hurston, you must struggle against any limitations and continually work to expand your horizons. So, in each learning situation, you will submit to reality, but that reality does not mean you must stay in one place. Reading books and materials that go beyond what is required is always a good starting point. Being exposed to ideas in the wide world, you will tend to develop a hunger for more and more knowledge. You'll find it harder to remain satisfied in any narrow corner, which is precisely the point. The people in your field, in your intermediate circle, are like worlds unto themselves. Their stories and viewpoints will naturally expand your horizons and build up your social skills. Mingle with as many different types of people as possible. Those circles will slowly widen. And any kind of outside schooling will add to the dynamic. Be relentless in your pursuit for expansion whenever you feel like you are settling into some circle for yourself to shake things up and look for new challenges, as Hurston did when she left Howard for Harlem. With your mind expanding, you will redefine the limits of your apparent world. Soon, ideas and opportunities will come to you, and your apprenticeship will naturally complete itself. Number 3, listen guys, kasi you have to listen. So revert to a feeling of inferiority. Attending high school in the late 1960s, Daniel Everett was a bit of a lost soul. He felt trapped in the California border town of Holtville, where he grew up, and totally disconnected to the local cowboy way of life. As narrated in Chapter 1, Everett had always been drawn to Mexican culture that existed among the migrant workers on the margins of the town. He loved their rituals and the way of life, the sound of their language and their songs. He seemed to have a knack for learning a foreign language and pick up Spanish rather quickly. Gaining a bit of entry into their world, to him, their culture represented a glimpse of more interesting world beyond Holtville. But sometimes he despaired of ever really getting away from his hometown. He began to take drugs. For the time being, at least, they offered an escape. Then he was 17, he met Karen Graham, a fellow student at high school, and everything seemed to change. Karen had spent much of her childhood in northeastern Brazil, where her parents had served as Christian missionaries. He loved to hang out with her and listen to her stories of life in Brazil. He met her family and became a regular guest at dinners. He admired their sense of purpose and dedication to their missionary work. A few months after meeting Karen, he became a born-again Christian, and a year later they were married. Their goal was to start a family and become missionaries themselves. Everett graduated from the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago with a degree in foreign missions And in 1976, he and his wife enrolled in the Summer Institute of Linguistics (SIL), a Christian organization that instructs future missionaries in the necessary linguistic skills to translate the Bible into indigenous languages and spread the gospel. After going through the course work, he and his family, which now included 2 children, were sent to SIL's jungle camp in the region of Chiapas in southern Mexico to prepare them for the rigors of missionary life. For a month, from the family had to live in a village and learn as best they could the indigenous language, a Mayan dialect. Everett passed all of the tests with flying colors based on his success in the program. The faculty of SIL decided to offer him and his family the greatest challenge of them all, to live in a Piraha village deep in the heart of the Amazon. The Piraha are among the eldest inhabitants of the Amazon. When the Portuguese arrived in the area in the early 18th century, most of the tribes learned their language and adopted many of their ways, but the Piraha resisted and retreated further into the jungle. They live in deep isolation with little contact with outsiders. By the time missionaries arrived in their villages in the 1950s, there were only some 350 Piraha still alive and scattered in the area. The missionaries who tried to learn their language found it impossible. The Piraha spoke no Portuguese, had no written language, and their words to Westerners all sounded alike. SIL had sent a couple in 1967 to learn the language and finally translate part of the Bible in Piraha, but they could make little progress. After more than 10 years of struggling with the language, they were driven half mad by the task and wanted to leave. Hearing all of this, Everett was more than happy to accept the challenge. He and his wife were determined to be the first ones to crack the code of Piraha. He and his family arrived in Piraha village in December 1977. In his first few days, Everett used all of the strategies he had been taught, for instance, holding up a stick and asking for their word for it, and dropping the stick and asking the phrase to describe the action. In the months to come, he made good progress learning basic vocabulary. The method he had learned at SIL worked well, and he worked assiduously. Every time he heard a new word, he wrote it down on the 3x4 note cards. He punched holes in the corners of the cards, carried dozens of them on the loop of his plans, and repeatedly practiced them with villagers. He tried to apply these words and phrases in different contexts, sometimes making the Piraha laugh. Okay, so we're done na guys. I'll see you again. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you for always being there, for helping me make this world a better place for all of us and for the family.